your energy bills. With ABC Seamless, you can make your home more beautiful on the outside and save money too. As an energy-conscious consumer, I fully endorse ABC Seamless siding. Call today. They will show you how cost-effective ABC Seamless really is.
This is CNN.
This is CNN Breaking News.
I'm Reid Collins in Washington, and on this birthday of Abraham Lincoln, President George Bush is formally announcing his campaign for re-election. He'll be doing that in a moment in a hotel in Washington, D.C., where the scene is being set, and a couple of hours later he'll be campaigning in the state of New Hampshire, which is to be his first test. We are to be joined this morning by Jack Germond, who is in Manchester, New Hampshire. He is the political correspondent for the Baltimore Sun. And with us will be also William Schneider, CNN's political analyst here in Washington. Bill, while we have you here, can you tell us, is this event one in which the president is hoping to make more news, or is it sort of a formal event?
Seems to be a formal event because it's not during prime time television when most people will be watching. I think his news-making opportunity came with the State of the Union. Of course, any opportunity for the president to speak, in this case to address the nation, could be a news-making event. We want to hear if he can state a theme, a message that he's going to be running on first in the New Hampshire primary next week, and that'll carry him through the rest of this campaign.
All right, Jack Germond, is New Hampshire awaiting granitely up there? What is it doing?
Well, I don't think people are all agog about hearing a formal announcement of a presidential candidacy, but I do think that the announcement, speech by the president, or remarks, whatever he's going to do, the declaration, is something that'll get, full coverage in New Hampshire, so it's important here. And then he's coming up to the stage shortly thereafter. He'll be in Concord and in Manchester, and he's going to get a tremendous amount of attention over the next 12 hours or so.
All right, we should say that the sun rose on a president in Washington, D.C. It is going to set on a president who now is also a candidate in the state of New Hampshire. Well, Schneider, these events have to be packed. There are about 1,500 people there in the area of the Marriott Hotel. Have to be packed with supporters. You don't want to take a chance on any lack of enthusiasm, do you?
No, that's right. The hall is bound to be packed with the president's supporters. They're going to cheer his every utterance. And he wants to make it look like his campaign is getting off to a rousing start and that he has tremendous support in the party. And he's hoping to carry that presidential image through to New Hampshire. Because after all, so far he looks like he's been doing well, certainly in our polls in New Hampshire, because in the end, partisans support their president. And he's got to get those partisan juices flowing for next Tuesday's primary.
Right. When the Republicans seized the White House in their latter occupation of it, the slogans were "Together a New Beginning" and that sort of thing. It's difficult for an incumbency to invent a new phrase that doesn't suggest there was something wrong with the past 4 years, isn't it?
Well, that's absolutely right.
He could bash the Democrats, bash the Congress.
All right. How much bashing is effective up there, Jack? What's on the mind of New Hampshire today?
Well, the polling up here shows you can blame the Democratic Congress for a lot of things and get away with it here. That's been very successful for the president so far in the advertising he's running.
All right, we should say, as we take a look at the ballroom there, they're running a little bit late. We expect to see the vice president and his wife cross the stage at least, and the president, we understand, will probably be introduced by Mrs. Barbara Bush. And we'll be back for all of that right after this.
I was going through some trade confirmations, and bang, it hit me.
This has got to stop.
My broker talked me into something I didn't want. It's not doing well, and I still paid all this commission.
Common sense says you shouldn't pay for advice you don't want. That's why active investors come to Fidelity for discount brokerage and save up to 65% on stock and option commissions.
Yesterday before work, I called my broker. Not in. Called at lunchtime. Out.
At lunch? Gone for the day.
Called after work. Gone.
No message.
You can trade round the clock and enjoy the great service that's made Fidelity America's largest mutual fund company. At locations nationwide, even by PC with never a sales pitch. Over 2 million investors know it's easy doing business with Fidelity. Call Fidelity now for this free excerpt from the bestseller One Up on Wall Street by Peter Lynch, plus everything you need to get started. Call Call 1-800-334-1100. Fidelity Investments. Common sense. Uncommon results.
Oh, this salad is great. Oh, this is sensational. You know, well, it's stupendous. I tell you what. Oh, bake those. Oh.
For great bacony crunch without cholesterol, bring home the Bacos.
This Valentine's Day, make sure you send your sweetheart the FTD flower basket bouquet. Oh, and make sure you send it a day or two early, because as Cupid says, if your sweetheart misses out...
It's as easy as FTD.
What does the future hold for you?
People in their 30s and 40s are becoming very concerned about what's out there for them when they turn 65.
Now there is a news program that answers your concerns.
We're getting into the areas of national health insurance and folks' sense of security and how that might be affected by a changing economy.
The issues that we address are of immediate concern perhaps to much of the audience and of future concern to everybody.
Early Prime with Cheryl Atkinson and Lou Waters today at 4 on CNN.
Now, Mrs. Bush is introducing her husband.
You think of him as the man who is working so hard to get this economy back on track, using methods that will help, not harm our nation. Others, including many here today, have spoken about this George Bush with far more eloquence and knowledge than I. I'd like to tell you about the George Bush I've known for half a century, the man I've raised our children with, the man I've shared my life with. I knew George as a straight and handsome teenager in a Navy Flyers uniform, and I know him now as they play Hail to the Chief when he strides into a room. In the phases of his life, I've watched my husband change from a schoolboy to family man, to businessman, to public servant, from congressman to president, from college team captain to the leader of the greatest nation on earth. Many years, many changes, but there are things which have never changed. George Bush has always loved his family. I saw the father he became to his children, and I see the love he has for his grandchildren. George has always loved his country. Over the years, that love has found direction in leadership, found strength in helping others, and found meaning in serving his country. I've watched George Bush rejoice in America's success and grieve at the pain felt by many. Always he has worked his hardest, tried his best with integrity, commitment, and love, and come shining through for all of us. So please allow me to introduce the person I respect and love most in the world, our president, my husband, and incidentally, the next president of the United States.
Thank you all very much, and Barbara, thank you for those kind remarks, and may I salute our Vice President, Dan Quayle, just back from overseas in Maryland, doing a superb job. And my respects to the members of our great cabinet and friends all. Thanks to all of you for this wonderful, warm reception. And I have an announcement to make. I want to continue serving as your president 4 more years. So from this moment... So So from this moment on, I'm a candidate for President of the United States, officially. And let me tell you why I'm running. I came here to do important work, and I finish what I start. In 1980, I came to Washington as a part of a team, and we started a revolution to free America from, you remember, the politics of malaise, and to set sail towards America's destiny. And then in 1988, Dan Quayle and I began our own partnership, built on the same principles. And my message then and my message now is simple. I believe government is too big and it costs too much. And I believe in a strong defense for this country, in good schools, safe streets, a government really worthy of the people. And I believe that parents, not government, should make the important decisions about health, child care, and education. And I believe in personal responsibility. And I believe in opportunity for all. We should throw open wide the doors of possibility to anyone who has been locked out. And I believe in a piece of wisdom passed on by my favorite political philosopher, Barbara Bush. What happens in your house is more important than what happens in the White House. You see, America's future doesn't take shape in small rooms with heavy polished wooden desks. It takes place in homes where parents read to their children, talk about responsibility, teach them values, show them how to love one another, respect one another, and work hard, and live good lives. We must encourage families to remain strong and whole, and we must extend our hearts and hands to children who have no one to hold them or call them by their names. Our future rides on the important things, the big things: family, home, school, church, community, and country. We're gathered here because the American people wanted leadership, and we answered the call, and we didn't do the easy things. We did the right things. And from day one, I fought for strong and effective national defense. I stuck to my principles, and we kept strong, and we won the Cold War. And we stayed strong, and that enabled us to win a battle called Desert Storm. But we did far more than that. We liberated the entire world from old fears of tense, endless confrontation, fears of nuclear holocaust. And now, our children grow up freed from the looming specter of nuclear war. But having won the Cold War, we did more. We led nations away from ancient hatreds and toward a table of peace. And we did still more than that. We forged a new world order, an order shaped by the sweat and sacrifice of our families, the sweat and sacrifice of generation upon generation of American men and women. And think of it. 2 years ago, the Berlin Wall came tumbling down, and last year, the Soviet Union collapsed. Imperial communism Imperial communism became a four-letter word, D-E-A-D, dead. And today, because we stood firm, because we did the right things, America stands alone, the undisputed leader of the world. We put an end to the decades of Cold War and reaped a springtime harvest of peace. The American people should be proud of what together we have achieved. And now, together, we will transform the arsenal of democracy into the engine of growth. And I understand the world. That's crucial. But that's not enough. I understand America. And I know that American workers are the most productive in the world, bar none. And I know to succeed economically at home, we need to lead economically abroad. And if you want to lead in the world, you've got to know the neighborhood. Economic leadership means markets for American products, jobs for American workers, and growing room for the American dream. The American people... The American people do not believe in isolationism because they believe in themselves. And we Americans... We Americans don't hide from a good test of our abilities. We rise to the challenge. And after all, our national bird is the eagle, not the ostrich. In 1992, the American people will decide what kind of leadership they want. They'll decide which team has the character, the experience, and the toughness to make the important decisions. And they could cast their lot with a lot of fresh faces who tout stale ideas, but they won't. Voters know the difference between a sound bite and sound policy. Let's not kid ourselves. We're in a tough fight. But you know me, I don't seek unnecessary conflict. But when principle is at stake, I fight to win. And I am determined to win, and I will win. This will be a long campaign, and that's all right. Our campaign will focus on the future, the only subject that counts, and we'll fight hard, and we will fight fair, and we will win. Hey, Abraham Lincoln, whose birth we celebrate today, once told fellow Republicans, we will make converts day by day, and unless truth be a mockery, and justice a hollow lie, we will be in the majority after a while. The battle of freedom is to be fought out on principle. And so be it. That's the way it'll be. For 3 years, an entrenched opposition in Washington has clung to the old failed ways, not out of principle, but out of sheer politics. And they blocked our comprehensive efforts to fight crime and drugs. They refused to join the revolution in American education. They stalled our efforts to cut taxes and slash regulation and encourage economic growth. And then they complained that nothing got done. This year, we say no more. To those who want to obstruct progress, we say get moving or get out of the way. We've got an agenda. We've got an agenda, and here's what we will do. Together, we'll get our economy up and running at full speed. We'll restore decency to the American way of life. We will silence the voices of hatred and gloom, and we will attack programs that lock people in bleak dependency as we work to reform our dismal welfare program. And we will, in the process, provide the best kind of a welfare system imaginable. Good jobs for Americans able to work. And we will build the America of our dreams. In my life, I've seen miracles, and I've learned that no dream is too big for the American heart. When I was a little boy, the world moved at an easy pace. Then came the Depression, then came a world war, and in the fires of battle, I learned freedom's painful price, and I've seen wondrous changes, new ideas and new technologies, tempered by the humanity that makes us what we are. And amid the swells of change, gentle fundamentals anchor us still. Decency, honor, hard work, caring. That's the America I know. And I have been blessed in my life. Blessed by Barbara and by a family that fills me with wonder and joy and love. And I'm blessed with so many friends, friends like you. And I have been especially blessed because I have been given the opportunity to serve as your president, the President of the United States. The glory of this century is America. In history, we'll call this American century the American century because we fought the battle of freedom and we won, and history will tell of a second American century when we led the world to new heights of achievement and liberty. This is our legacy. This is our challenge. And this is our destiny, and together we will win. I am certain of that. Thank you very, very much. And may God bless you. And may God bless each and every one of you and our great country, the United States of America. Thank you very, very much.
And so at 10 minutes, 15 seconds past the hour of 10 o'clock Eastern Time, George Herbert Walker Bush became a candidate for re-election, having been introduced to this pro-Bush crowd of some 1,500 people in a Washington, D.C. hotel by his wife, Mrs. Barbara Bush, who predicted in her introduction that she was introducing the next president of the United States. We'll be back with more coverage and a closer look at this breaking news story, the president's re-election announcement, in just a minute.
I was seeing my parents off, and I realized...
Dad, what do you got in here? Gardening equipment?
They've planned their retirement for a long time.
Common sense says the time to plan for your future is today.
One day, it's going to be our turn.
And Fidelity Investments, America's largest mutual fund company, can help you begin.
Debbie? One day, Jeff sat down to figure out how much we'll have for retirement.
How's it going, Einstein?
Very funny. Take a look at this.
I thought we were doing a pretty good job. At this rate, we'll never retire.
Over 2 million Americans trust their retirement savings to Fidelity with choices like Magellan Fund. Magellan's approach to stock investing has made it the #1 performing mutual fund for the past 15-year period. So call Fidelity now for this free booklet, a common sense guide to planning for retirement. You'll also receive everything you need to take your first step. Call 1-800-525-7700. Fidelity Investments. Common sense. Uncommon results.
would the action be without cable? In just 1 month, a subscription to cable gives you over 1,200 hours of sports programming you wouldn't be able to see anywhere else. Cable contributes to life.
And so, with the watchwords character and experience, President Bush has announced here in Washington that he is, in fact, a candidate for re-election to the presidency of the United States, something which I suppose Jack Germond did not exactly bring down the granite mountains of New Hampshire with surprise, did it?
Well, you know, these presidential announcement speeches, this kind of thing, they're great if you just got off a spaceship from Mars and didn't have anything to do with the real world. And I think that was a very effective speech the president delivered. But in New Hampshire, the preoccupation with the economy is such that the important thing is what he says specifically about the economy and whether he can convince people that the program he has is one that can have a real effect on their lives and provide some jobs.
He mentioned, Jack, as you heard, of course, that on the agenda, economy is number one. Also, perhaps a little shot at Patrick Buchanan with the fact that the American national bird is an eagle, not an ostrich. How will that play?
Well, I think the attacking Pat on the isolationism thing is probably worthwhile in New Hampshire. There are a lot of industries here that are dependent on international trade or have been. But really, the vote here next Tuesday in the Republican primary is a referendum on President Bush more than anything else, and he has to be convincing. And I thought that was a very strong speech, but he has to be convincing in a lot of ways, and he hasn't been so far. He's ahead. He's comfortably ahead, but not home free.
All right, William Schneider here with us in Washington. Did the president change any minds or simply reaffirm what seems to be a fair amount of momentum going into New Hampshire?
Well, I think he reaffirmed his momentum, and I agree with Jack. It was an effective speech. George Bush is usually at his best when he gives a very personal speech, and that's what this was. He said that he had one message: government is too big and costs too much. Well, that rang a bell, and I said, I've heard that before. Ronald Reagan said that when he first became president. So clearly the Reagan consensus is still ruling, and President Bush is still running on that and hoping it'll carry him through. You know, one important thing about George Bush, Americans don't hate George Bush. They're disappointed. They think he could do more about the economy. But if you want to remember presidents who were really hated, think of Lyndon Johnson during the Vietnam War or Richard Nixon during Watergate. Americans are inclined to like George Bush. Republicans like him, and that's what could carry him through the New Hampshire primary next week.
Bill, if you take a look at the things he can tick off because he's been in the leadership post, says we won the Cold War 2 years ago. He points out in his administration the Berlin Wall came down, and we're now the undisputed leader of the world. It's hard for a candidate who's not incumbent to make the sorts of claims that Mr. Bush can lay claim to.
Exactly. I think the president in his remarks this morning cited several themes that are going to be very prominent in his campaign. First of all, his foreign policy leadership. That's where he could point to, he pointed to a long record of achievements. He talked about ending the Cold War, liberating the world from fear, the end of the nuclear war threat. He said if you want to lead in the world, you've got to know the neighborhood. Now, there isn't anyone else running for president who can claim to know the neighborhood as well as George Bush. He talked about his experience and said the Democrats were a lot of fresh faces who tout stale ideas, another point only an incumbent can make. And he mentioned in one word, character, which is an issue he's going to stress because George Bush is admired as a man of character, and there are some questions being raised about various Democrats.
Jack Germond, going past the economy, we find that second in the president's agenda set out this morning is decency in life. Then comes the silencing of hatred that has raised its voice in America. And then welfare reform. Family values seem to count high in what we perceive to be the coming campaign. How will that play there?
Well, I mean, everybody I know of is against hatred, and they're in favor of reforming welfare and family values. And that is the kind of thing that any candidate, President Bush or any of the Democrats, are going to say in an announcement speech. I think I would quarrel a little bit with Bill Schneider about the president's popularity. The fact is the president in New Hampshire seems to evoke a great deal of very bitter reaction from even Republicans of long standing and long support of the president. And he is not a beloved figure with many of these Republicans, which is showing in the polling numbers here, Reid, where he is still only in the 50s against a challenger, Pat Buchanan, who has really limited credentials particularly in the Republican primary.
On that subject, though, gentlemen, Pat Buchanan has been almost in New Hampshire long enough to vote there. Has he changed anything with the numbers, or aren't they just about the same as they were when we all started this?
Well, his numbers have been fairly constant in our tracking polls. He's getting somewhere between 25 and 30% of the vote in the tracking polls, and I think they've been quite stable. Bush's numbers have fluctuated a bit up and down, but Buchanan seems to have a core of support that he's holding on to.
All right, Jack, can anything happen over this next week to change things, do you imagine?
In New Hampshire, something always happens to change things, sometimes 2 or 3 times. I don't think the Republican picture is going to change radically. And it doesn't seem to me that Buchanan does have the potential to win this thing. He does have the potential to pick up 5 or 6 points, perhaps, which might make it closer, make it a little embarrassing for the president.
All right, gentlemen, thank you both for your observations on the presidential announcement of this day. And we have this program note related to Campaign 92. CNN's live coverage of the Democratic presidential candidates' debate is this Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And for now, I'm Reid Collins. Bobbie, Battista, and I will return with World Day right after this.
World Day continues, followed by Day Watch after this local commercial break, next on CNN.
We're at Robert's Dairy to study the making of their low-fat yogurt. After primping themselves for a formal evening out, the yogurt cows sashay past the paparazzi into the milking complex. Yesterday, Paco Bell's Canning in D. Today, the Blue Danube Waltz, the particular favorite of the blueberry cow. One thing is clear, Robert's yogurt cows are the product of good breeding and active culture.
Roberts, how do you make it taste so good?
Both the brown trout and the brook trout of the eastern streams and the
Isn't there anything else on?
Different people like different things.
This looks good.
Which is why this year at TCI,
This looks good. No.
we're spending over $600 million on cable programming.
No.
Just to make sure there's always something on. Everyone wants to watch.
Oh, hi. Want to see a story about the plastinauts?
At least that's the goal.
Here's one about a robot. You know, a machine that's
This looks
made
good.
for different kinds of jobs.
This is CNN.
And welcome to this abbreviated version of World Day. I'm Reid Collins in Washington.
And I'm Bobbie Battista at CNN Center in Atlanta. In the news today, Peruvian security forces are braced for what the Shining Path guerrilla movement calls an armed strike. A car bomb exploded in front of the U.S. ambassador's residence in Lima, but it is not known if the guerrilla group was responsible. 2 policemen were killed, 2 other officers were seriously injured. No one in the residence was hurt. At least 6 other bombs went off yesterday in the Peruvian capital. The strike has been called for this Friday. Past strikes have had little success in Lima. Libya is reportedly hiding its Scud missiles because it fears a Western military attack. The Washington Times, citing unidentified U.S. officials, says Libya is also strengthening its air defenses. The report comes as the U.S. and Britain are pressing Libya to hand over 2 Libyans suspected in the bombing of a Pan Am jet over Scotland. There have been reports that Libya executed the suspects, but a British lawyer says he met with the 2 suspects yesterday. Secretary of State James Baker visited Azerbaijan today to discuss the possibility of establishing diplomatic ties with the former Soviet Republic. Azerbaijan could use it. It needs overseas investment in its oil industry. Baker stresses that U.S. recognition would hinge on, among other things, an improvement in the Azeri human rights record, including its treatment of Armenians in the disputed territory of Nagorno-Karabakh. From Azerbaijan, Baker flew to Turkmenistan, which will be followed by visits to 2 other republics. Let's take this time now to check the latest financial headlines this hour with Bill Hartley at the New York Stock Exchange. Bill?
Thanks, Bobbie. Investors selling on world stock markets today. On Wall Street, stocks have taken a downturn after a positive open. Right now, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is down about 2.5 points at just over 3,249. New York Stock Exchange volume continues heavy, 52 million shares changing hands so far. Decliners are leading advancers by a 6-5 margin. On the broader and secondary markets, only the NASDAQ index of over-the-counter stocks is heading higher. In London, shares are lower after hopes of an interest rate cut there faded. Financial Times 100 share index is down 12.5 points. It stands at 25.24. Shares in Tokyo finish lower in thin trading, In thin trading, the Nikkei average closed off 277 points, and it stands at 21,541 2/3. The U.S. Treasury's 30-year bond is slipping a bit in price ahead of today's auction of 10-year notes. The bellwether issue right now down 6/32, the yield at 7.78%. The dollar's higher, rumors later denied of a coup in Russia. U.S. dollar's up 0.75 cents against the British pound, a half penny against the German mark, but it is unchanged against the Japanese currency. That's the latest in business news. A last check of the big board shows the Dow Jones Industrial Average down just under 1 point. I'm Bill Hartley, reporting live from the New York Stock Exchange.
CNN Special Assignment Unit gets hold of a taped phone conversation by Yasser Arafat. In it, this PLO leader allegedly threatens and insults Jews. The story and more is ahead on World Day. What happened?
Wow, you guys look great.
Oh, we were so young back then.
Mom, was it any easier when you got married?
No, but we pulled together, just like the two of you will.
We're not starting out with very much.
We didn't either, but we saved, and we invested.
Since 1928, families have invested with Scudder, America's first family of no-load funds.
Oh no, my hair's not only going gray, now it's getting thinner. I wish they made something for gray thinning hair.
They have Grecian Plus. Grecian Plus is a fresh-smelling foam that gradually brings back natural-looking color, the famous Grecian way. But this Grecian has a big plus. It builds body for healthier, fuller-looking hair.
Your hair looks great. Feels thicker, too.
Grecian Plus, the total treatment for gray thinning hair.
Because some aches and pains don't go away when the lights go out, we've created Tylenol PM. Specially formulated with extra-strength Tylenol pain reliever for those aches and pains that can keep you up at night. Plus a gentle ingredient to help you sleep. So you can wake up refreshed in the morning. From the name you trust comes Tylenol PM, so you can rest easy.
Tonight, polluted water, overflowing landfills. How long before the Earth says too late? How can we achieve the greening of America? The People's Agenda. On CNN's World News, 10 o'clock Eastern tonight.
A public storm has broken over a private phone conversation by Yasser Arafat. Arafat was heard making angry comments about Jews and the French in a tape obtained by CNN. CNN's Stephen Emerson has this special assignment report.
It's become known as the Habash affair, a furor which is shaking the political future of France's socialist government. George Habash, a key member of the PLO, was admitted to France for medical tests on January 29th of this year. Habash has been accused by the United States and other governments of involvement in numerous terrorist attacks in the past 2 decades. The massacre at Lod Airport in 1972, the hijacking of an Air France plane in 1976, and an attack on a bus in Israel last year that left 2 dead. When a French television station showed footage of Habash's arrival in France, it provoked a storm of public outrage. 6 senior French government officials deemed responsible for Habash's entry into France lost their jobs. After 3 days, Habash left France and returned to Tunis after France's top anti-terrorism investigator tried to question him. Publicly, the PLO took a fairly low profile during the controversy, but CNN has learned that PLO leader Yasser Arafat was furious at the French and at the Jews over the Habash affair. CNN has obtained this tape of a conversation between Arafat in Tunis and the PLO envoy in Paris. The tape recording was provided to CNN by a Western law enforcement agency. Journalists and Arab specialists familiar with Arafat confirm it is his voice on the tape. A voice identification expert analyzed the tape for CNN and said that while there isn't enough material for a positive legal identification, the voice on the tape is consistent with other recordings of Arafat's voice. The conversation took place just 13 days ago on January 30th. Habash had been in France for 1 day at that point. In the first part of the conversation, Arafat instructs the PLO representative in Paris, Ibrahim al-Sous, to protest to the French government about the mounting criticism of Habash.
You officially inform the foreign ministry. Now get this. What has just happened is shameful. I'll send over a plane and take him back to where he came from.
The envoy tells Arafat that it is not the fault of the socialist French government, pinning the blame instead on other parties.
The government has nothing to do with this matter at all. It's the opposition and the Jews. The Jews, they are at work.
This comment apparently enrages Arafat.
The Jews at work, damn their fathers, the dogs, filth and dirt. All this for one sick man. I took care of and treated their ill and sick. But trash is always trash. And thanks to the rotten Jews with whom I will settle accounts in the future.
The envoy blames members of the French conservative opposition, Mayor of Paris, Jacques Chirac, and right-wing activist Jean-Marie Le Pen.
It is the right, all of them. Le Pen, Chirac, the right, all of them. And especially the Jews. The Jews expose this matter. The media campaign by the Jews.
For a sick man, what? Did we send him to have fun on the Champs-Élysées? We sent him to the Red Cross.
In his final comments, Arafat unleashes a broadside at the French, often seen as the PLO's best friends in Europe.
We don't want their medical treatment. We don't want their low civilization, their arrogant civilization, their dirty civilization.
And in a prescient moment, Arafat adds,
and I'm speaking to you on a bug telephone. Let them record this and play it on television. Thank you, brother.
Clearly, Arafat's comments were insulting to the French and to the Jews. Yet publicly, over the last few years, Arafat and the PLO have been increasingly conciliatory toward Israel. Yet if Arafat's comments are interpreted as provocative, this episode could damage the new Middle East peace talks launched by the United States. Stephen Emerson, CNN, Special Assignment.
Ibrahim al-Sous is denying that either he or Arafat made the comments heard on the tape. Sous called the tape a gross manipulation and told the French news agency that he is considering legal action. If you would like to write to the CNN Special Assignment staff, the address is Post Office Box 2727, Atlanta, Georgia, 30301.
A Japanese environmental satellite's run into some technical trouble only hours after it was launched. The satellite was launched yesterday. The problem occurred when the command center sent the orders up to open the radar antenna. Scientists received no confirmation that this command was carried out. It is not known whether the problem is in the antenna or in some communications linkage, but Japanese space officials say it should be corrected shortly. A warning today from a computer expert about a virus that may strike millions of personal computers next month. John McAfee of the U.S. Computer Virus Industry Association has told the conference in Sydney, Australia, that a virus known as Michelangelo is to hit PCs round the world on March the 6th. That is Michelangelo's birthday. One expert says a good antivirus program should detect the virus.
Still to come on World Day, an update on the Winter Olympics in France and more on former world champ Mike Tyson's conviction for rape in the U.S.
On CNN Today, are you paying too much for makeup? The high cost of cosmetics on Day Watch. Then on Cryer and Company, try to fit in or maintain their differences. What should blacks do? All today on CNN.
I was going through some trade confirmations, and bang, it hit me.
This has got to stop.
My broker talked me into something I didn't want. It's not doing well, and I still paid all this commission.
Common sense says you shouldn't pay for advice you don't want. That's why active investors come to Fidelity for discount brokerage and save up to 65% on stock and option commissions.
Yesterday before work, I called my broker. Not in. Called at lunchtime. Out.
Gone for the day.
Called after work. Gone.
No.
You can trade round the clock and enjoy the great service that's made Fidelity America's largest mutual fund company. At locations nationwide, even by PC with never a sales pitch. Over 2 million investors know it's easy doing business with Fidelity. Call Call Fidelity now for this free excerpt from the bestseller One Up on Wall Street by Peter Lynch, plus everything you need to get started. Call 1-800-842-7900. Fidelity Investments. Common sense. Uncommon results.
You, my friend, can use some fun. Big fun. Las Vegas, Atlantic City, cruise ships. But you got to take this along, the Players Club card. It's going to save you a lot of money. 25 to 50% off fabulous resort hotels, 25% off meals and drinks, up to 50% off shows and entertainment. Come on. Call Players Club for much more information free. You're too smart to pay full price.
New members get 2 free nights in Las Vegas or Atlantic City when the club books their flights. Call toll-free now.
Let's get closer to that world and check in with Valerie Voss and the World Day weather. Valerie.
Well, Reid, as you saw in that satellite photograph of South America, a lot of cloudiness around this continent this summer day. There are showers and thunderstorms stretched across many regions, especially from low pressure in Bolivia across central sections of Brazil. However, showers and thundershowers stretch all the way from Bogota, Colombia, down to Punta Arenas in the south. Frontal system across southern Chile and Argentina producing some of that, but most of it is just the afternoon convective variety that you find in the summertime. Conditions 1200 Greenwich Mean Time for some representative cities, and then let's move on to the Pacific region. We're still watching low pressure area, a bit of a disturbance near the Timor Sea. Conditions are for 1200 Greenwich Mean Time for some representative cities. Still a low pressure center across southeastern Australia producing some rain showers in that area. And then, of course, it is very cold and dry with high pressure across central and eastern China. There's some snow being reported northern Japan in association with a low-pressure center down to the east. A frontal system stretches from Hainan to Taiwan and into the eastern Pacific, and this system producing some rain showers as well. Let's move on then to our next destination, which is the African continent. Generally quiet north and south. There is some fog being reported around Tangier and a frontal system that is across extreme, just about to the tip of extreme South Africa, producing a few rain showers near Port Elizabeth. There are a few clouds along the west coast from Mauritania to Liberia. Other than that, quiet conditions, and they are for 1200 Greenwich Mean Time, Casablanca, Tunis, Banjul, and also Cape Town. On the European continent, we are looking at a little bit of drizzle and fog in central sections of the continent. Might have been some rain showers and snow showers in the mountains around the Olympic sites. There are rain showers moving across Ireland into the United Kingdom. Some snow up across Iceland will change to rain as that low pressure center moves in and things warm up just a bit. Also some disturbed weather up across northern sections of Scandinavia with snow showers being reported. Murmansk, St. Petersburg, and also Moscow. High pressure is in the eastern Mediterranean, and things are quiet across the Middle East, although there are some snow showers around the Black Sea and specifically being reported at Ankara. Conditions 1200 Greenwich Mean Time for some specific European cities. Our forecasts are for specific cities for Thursday. We hope it's a good day, whatever your weather, wherever you are. World Day continues with Bobbie Battista.
All right, Valerie, thanks. Tom Stinar joins us now with the latest from Day 5 in Albertville.
Well, the powerful Austrian contingent continues its strong showing so far at the Games, and another athlete from Austria is in good position to claim the gold in the women's combined downhill event. Petra Kronenberger cruised down the rugged mountain course today nearly a half-second faster than her nearest challenger in the downhill stage. Kronenberger, the defending World Cup slalom champ, will go for a medal in tomorrow's 2 slalom runs. The big day for the Austrians began with a 1-2 finish in the women's luge today. Sisters Doris and Angelika Neuner claimed Austria's first ever Olympic gold and silver in this event. The Austrians added another medal, taking the bronze in the Nordic combined. The host country, the big winner, placing 1 and 2. The men's 10-kilometer biathlon is also in the books, with Germany taking the gold and silver. The bronze went to a Finnish competitor. Last night, Russian skaters representing the new unified team won an unprecedented 8th straight Olympic title in pairs competition. The world champs turned in a masterful performance, which brought the crowd to its feet. The two were first, with all 9 judges earning 7 near-perfect 5.9s for artistic impression. Also on the indoor ice from today, Canada ripped Norway to become the first team to clinch a spot in the medal round. The Canadians are seeking their first hockey medal since the '68 Winter Games. And now here's an up-to-the-moment look at the medal standings thus far, with Austria leading the way. After just 5 days, Austria's 10 medals already equals their total of 4 years ago in Calgary. The Germans and unified team also with 3 goals apiece. And now let's spend a moment reviewing all the World Day numbers on a roll. Mike Tyson's days as a free man appear to be numbered after his rape conviction on Monday. He left Indianapolis, Indiana yesterday after spending an hour and a half at a pre-sentencing hearing. He's free on $30,000 bond until sentencing next month. Tyson's vocal promoter Don King wasn't so talkative as he made his way out of the airport yesterday.
Did he feel justice was served at all? You answer that. Did the accuser lie on the stand? You answer that.
You asked for a just, fair playing field. You think you got that?
You be the judge.
You asked for due process. Yes. Due process prevailed? Yes. I think everybody knows, and so I think people are going to ask themselves, feel through their own conscience and see how it goes.
People like Don King have not been good for the sport. I think with Tyson out of the picture, King's power will be greatly diminished. And if King faded from the scene as well, boxing would benefit.
Tyson faces up to 60 years in prison if convicted, but legal experts believe he'll get a sentence anywhere from 7 to 12 years. And that is World Day Sports. We'll have more from Albertville during the 11 o'clock Eastern hour. We hope to see you then. Back to Reid now in Washington.
And Tom, there is this 14-year-old youth in Britain who's taken the first step on the tricky road to stardom. Just ahead on World Day, the boy who may become the next Michael Jackson.
There's something special about driving a Daihatsu from Japan. Whether it's the reliability, high mileage, and comfort of our affordable Daihatsu Charades,